Not long ago, diesel was Britain's default choice. Company car parks were packed with them, families bought them for long trips, and second-hand buyers trusted them to last forever. The idea was simple: strong economy, low tax and engines tough enough to handle motorway miles with ease. For many years, it was true. But times have changed. Some of the UK's most popular diesels, once praised for reliability or value, now carry problems that make them risky used buys. Not every fault is the same. Sometimes it's fragile electronics, other times soaring repair costs, poor resale values, or emissions kit that hasn't aged well under British stop-start driving. This isn't about saying every diesel is doomed. It's about showing you which models, once considered smart choices, now cause more headaches than happiness. If you're browsing UK forecourts for a diesel bargain, these are the cars you'll want to think twice about, starting with a BMW that went from motorway hero to workshop regular. Number 11. BMW 320d. For years, the BMW 320d was the dream diesel in Britain. Company drivers loved its 50 miles per gallon economy. Families admired the badge, and used buyers saw it as affordable prestige. Sharp to drive and sensible to run, it looked like the complete package. But the N47 engine hid a notorious flaw. Its timing chain, awkwardly placed at the back, became a ticking bomb. When it stretched, it often led to full engine failure, with repair bills higher than the car's value. Some paid thousands for prevention, others weren't so lucky and saw their cars written off. That's what makes the 320d such a bitter case. Brilliant on the road, disastrous when the problem surfaced. Today, forecourts are still full of them, tempting but risky. Even prestige diesels can turn motorway dreams into long garage stays. And if BMW's darling could fall from grace, the next car shows how a trusted family saloon ended up carrying the weight of a global scandal. Number 10. Volkswagen Passat. For years, the Passat was Britain's poster child of sensible motoring. Taxis, fleets, family estates, you'd see them everywhere. Solid, comfortable, and trusted, it was the car many thought you could buy blind. Then Dieselgate hit. UK drivers learned they're clean. Passats weren't so clean, and trust collapsed. Beyond the scandal, the EA189 engine brought real headaches. Leaking EGR coolers, faulty emission sensors, and repairs that cost far more than buyers expected. The twist? The Passat still feels like a great drive. Refined, spacious, and reassuring on the motorway. Yet those hidden costs turn cheap-looking used examples into financial traps. For British families chasing a safe option, too many discovered a saloon that drained savings faster than it saved fuel. Next, we move to Jaguar, a brand that promised to outshine the Germans with sleek diesels, but left too many UK owners disappointed. Number 9. Jaguar XE/XF. The XE and XF were meant to be Jaguar's diesel renaissance. Stylish, efficient, proudly British, finally a rival to BMW. Company drivers and private buyers alike were tempted by the promise of prestige with lower running costs. But the Ingenium engines soon spoiled the story. Timing chains rattled early, turbos failed without warning, and oil leaks became familiar complaints. Worse still, parts were slow to arrive, leaving cars stranded at dealers for weeks while owners made do with courtesy cars. For many, it wasn't just about money, it was about pride. Choosing to buy British was supposed to feel rewarding, yet too often it ended in frustration. The XE and XF had the looks and the badge, but not the long-term strength buyers expected. And if Jaguar's sleek saloon struggled to deliver, the next diesel proves that even Mercedes, long seen as bulletproof, can trip up owners with hidden headaches. Number 8. Mercedes E220d. For decades, the Mercedes E-Class has been Britain's go-to for executive comfort. Taxis, chauffeurs, company cars, you name it. The E220d was everywhere. Smooth on the motorway, luxurious inside, and with a badge that carried quiet authority, it looked like the safest choice of all. Yet modern diesel tech turned the E220d into a gamble. AdBlue systems failed unpredictably, and faulty NOx sensors sent cars into limp mode with eye-watering repair costs. Electronics added further pain. Infotainment glitches, driver assist faults, and warning lights that refused to go away, even after expensive visits to the dealer. For many owners, the bills felt more like running a luxury limo than a sensible diesel saloon. The sting was sharper because buyers expected bulletproof quality. An E-Class was supposed to be the car you could trust for 200,000 miles. Instead, some ended up spending thousands just to keep them on the road. Prestige, in this case, came with a painful price tag. And while the Mercedes caught out executives, the next car shows how even Britain's everyday family hatchback could turn into a costly mistake. Number 7. Vauxhall Astra. Few cars are as familiar to British roads as the Vauxhall Astra. From driving schools to family driveways, it became the dependable hatchback of choice. The 1.6 CDT, I promised economy, low road tax, and the kind of cheap running costs households value. On paper, it looked like the perfect all-rounder. But in practice, the Astra 1.6 diesel often left owners frustrated. Fuel injectors proved fragile, with replacements costing more than many expected on a budget car. Cooling issues cropped up, with thermostats and radiators failing early, while some owners complained of harsh vibrations from the engine at surprisingly low mileages. Even the interior electrics weren't immune. Dash displays and sensors developed faults that sent drivers back to the garage. What made the Astra's troubles so painful is how ordinary they were. This wasn't a prestige saloon with complex tech. It was the family hatch people bought to avoid headaches. Instead, too many ended up learning that cheap to buy doesn't always mean cheap to own. And if a humble Astra could stretch household budgets, Ford's Kuga SUV hit even harder by mixing family appeal with mechanical flaws that shocked parents across the UK. Number 6. Ford Kuga. The Ford Kuga seemed like the perfect step up for British families. SUV looks, a practical boot, plenty of kit, and the reassurance of the blue oval badge. It quickly became one of the UK's best-selling family cars. Many parents saw it as a sensible upgrade from a Focus, ideal for school runs and long weekends away. Yet ownership often told a harsher story. Fuel system failures were a common theme, with pumps shedding metal and destroying injectors in the process, repairs that ran into thousands. Turbos also showed weakness, cutting power just when drivers needed it most. Add in electrical hiccups, from faulty sensors to immobilizers refusing to play ball, and the Kuga's image of reliability began to fade. What hurt most was timing. Many problems struck just after warranties expired, leaving families to foot the bill themselves. A car sold as safe and practical too often became the source of financial stress and missed plans. And while the Kuga's issues left families reeling, Peugeot's 308 proved that even a modest hatchback could generate luxury-sized bills once its emissions system started acting up. Number 5. Peugeot 308. When the Peugeot 308 1.6 Blue HDI landed in Britain, it seemed to tick every sensible box. Low road tax, headline-grabbing miles per gallon figures, and a sleek design that stood out in a crowded hatchback market. For commuters and families wanting something affordable to buy and run, it looked almost too good to ignore. But the emission systems that gave it those low numbers often became its undoing. AdBlue pumps and tanks developed faults, sometimes leaving cars unable to start until expensive parts were replaced. The SCR setup, designed to keep NOx down, was sensitive to British stop-start traffic and prone to throwing warning lights before 60,000 miles. Suddenly, what was meant to be a cheap hatchback demanded luxury car money in repairs. Owners who thought they were playing it smart ended up learning a hard truth. Sometimes the economical option is the one that drains your wallet fastest. And if the Peugeot shows how emissions tech can trip up a hatchback, Renault GE's Kadjar proves that even affordable family SUVs can unravel when everyday electrics and turbos begin to fail. Number 4. Renault Kadjar. When the Kadjar launched, it promised Qashqai practicality at a lower price. British families flocked to it. Roomy cabin, low running costs, and enough SUV styling to feel modern without stretching the budget. On the forecourt, it seemed like one of the cleverest buys in its class. But time hasn't been kind. The 1.5 DCI engine, though efficient, developed turbo problems earlier than expected, robbing the car of power and straining household finances. Electronics also became a recurring frustration. Key cards failing to start the car, dashboard displays going blank, and parking sensors misbehaving on a weekly basis. Even the interior trim didn't hold up, rattling and wearing faster than rivals. For families hoping for a cut-price Qashqai, the Kadjar too often delivered stress instead of savings. It's the kind of car that looks like value in the classifieds, only for reality to prove otherwise once it's on your driveway. And while the Kadjar highlighted the risks of going cheap, Mazda's 6 Skyactiv-D shows how even a car once praised for driving flair can collapse under the weight of its diesel tech. Number 3. Mazda 6. When it arrived, the Mazda 6 Skyactiv-D was hailed as a game-changer. British reviewers praised its sharp looks, engaging handling, and a diesel engine marketed as efficient yet fun. For buyers who wanted something different from the German trio, it seemed like the clever alternative. But the Skyactiv-D quickly picked up a worrying reputation. Oil dilution became a major issue, with diesel seeping into the sump during regions, thinning lubrication, and risking long-term engine wear. Injectors too proved unreliable, leading to rough running and expensive replacements. Add fragile DPF systems to the mix, and owners found themselves juggling faults that simply didn't match Mazda's marketing promises. The biggest blow was reputational. Used values fell sharply, traders grew wary, and a car once praised in UK motoring magazines became one to avoid in the classifieds. For many, the 6 Skyactiv-D is remembered not as a brave choice, but as a painful gamble. And if Mazda's smart diesel crumbled under real-world use, Volvo's legendary D5 shows how even mile-munching estates can struggle to justify their reputation today. Number 2. Volvo V70/XC70. For years, the Volvo V70 and XC70 D5 were the definition of dependable family motoring in Britain. Built like tanks, famed for safety and space, and trusted by taxi firms and long-distance commuters, they became legends of the diesel era. Plenty of buyers still hunt for them in the hope of finding an indestructible estate. But age has caught up with these mile-eaters. Automatic gearboxes, once smooth and solid, often fail as mileages climb, with rebuilds that can exceed the car's market value. Injectors are another weak spot, pricey and increasingly hard to source, turning routine servicing into a serious hit on the wallet. Add worn suspension, failing electronics, and the looming cost of ULEZ compliance, and the once invincible Volvo starts to look fragile. The hardest truth for many British owners is that legends don't last forever. What was once the safe, sensible estate is now more often a rolling project. Loved by enthusiasts, but risky for families who just want hassle-free motoring. And finally, we reach a Land Rover that promised premium adventure, but delivered breakdowns that left too many UK families stranded. Number 1. Land Rover Discovery Sport. Few cars embodied the dream of British family motoring like the Land Rover Discovery Sport. A premium badge, 7-seat option, and rugged image made it irresistible to parents who wanted both status and practicality. On paper, it was the SUV that could do it all. School runs in the week, adventures at the weekend. Yet reality told a harsher tale. The 2.2 TD4 diesel became notorious for a cocktail of issues. Clogged EGR valves, DPF systems that refused to regenerate, and turbos that failed far sooner than expected. Cooling system faults and electrical glitches added to the misery, leaving many owners staring at repair bills in the thousands. And with Land Rover labour rates among the highest in the UK, even minor jobs felt punishing. What made it worse was the promise. Buyers stretched finances for a premium SUV, only to discover they'd bought into endless garage visits and plummeting resale values. The Discovery Sport didn't just dent wallets, it dented Land Rover's already shaky reputation for reliability. And that closes our list of 11 diesels once trusted in Britain, now remembered more for breakdowns than bargains. So there you have it, 11 diesels that once dominated Britain's roads, but which today carry risks that buyers can't ignore. From BMW saloons to Land Rover SUVs, they were sold as smart, efficient choices. And to be fair, many did their job brilliantly when new. The problem is what happens years down the line. Fragile components, complex emissions tech, and repair bills that no longer make sense for family budgets. This doesn't mean every diesel is a mistake. It means that on the UK used market, knowing the weak spots is more important than ever. buy blind, and what looks like a bargain could leave you stranded with costs bigger than the car's value. Have you owned one of these models? Did yours live up to the promise, or did it leave you regretting the day you signed the paperwork? Share your story in the comments. It could save another driver thousands. And if you found this video helpful, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell, because in the next episode, we'll reveal the diesels that are still worth your money in Britain today.